My client passed on a home. Here's why, and here's what you can learn from it. Hi, my name is Eddie Arguelles of Influencer Real Estate here in beautiful Stuart, Florida. So this past weekend, I was out with a customer of mine that I've had the pleasure of knowing for many years. Him and his beautiful wife already live in the area, but they're looking to move from their condo to a single family home. And this particular house we saw was very close to where they currently live, and obviously they want to stay in the neighborhood that they love so much here in the area. And so what I'm going to talk about today really starts to lend into or bleed into another video, so definitely stay tuned, about how sellers should be preparing their homes for sale in the market right now in 2023. So the reason they passed on this house was its condition. One of the important points, and I'm going to talk about this in another video at greater detail, the failure of sellers to prepare their home for a market. What we've had for these past couple, 2-3 years is the expectation or the assumption that the moment we put something on the market, that it's going to sell quickly. And we all know, of course, the market has definitely changed, and sellers need to be more thoughtful about how they prepare their houses for the market. Now, even though he's an experienced buyer of real estate, as a matter of fact, has dabbled in rehabbing homes, he's certainly not afraid of doing some repairs and attending to things that need attending to. Of course, this is a house now that's about 20 years old, so if updates have not been made, certainly it's time to look at those in detail. So specifically about this house, the paint was, I would almost even say maybe original, so a 20-year-old paint. And you walk in and we've got some green carpet, dark green carpeting, which again, everyone has their own personal preference, but you can tell it was well worn and a green that looked dated, of course. And then just the failure to fill holes in the wall from where pictures were. You know, these kinds of details, this kind of conversation was really not anything that was talked about, again, over these last couple, 2-3 years, because it didn't matter. People were hungry for buying something and they almost didn't care what the place looked like. But that's not the case anymore. We're back to what's starting to lean more towards a balanced market, where sellers absolutely have to be thoughtful about how they prepare their house for the market. So besides the paint and the carpet, a third element, which really doesn't cost the seller much money, is the mix-matched furniture inside the house. My biggest recommendation for anyone looking to sell their house is to make sure that it's either completely furnished and looks like it's lived in, or completely vacant. This middle ground where there's some pieces of furniture that don't look like they belong in there, they've probably been moved around from room to room, or they just absolutely make no sense. There's mattresses without proper bedding on them, or there's just one piece of furniture in a room. You can clearly tell that they're in the middle of it. And as much as we encourage people not to look too much into it, that is actually something that becomes very distracting for a potential buyer. You'd be surprised how many people can't get over that feeling of something is missing, something is not right here, you know, and then just get locked in on that, and they stop thinking about the house as much as they should be, and all the particular attributes of the house that are really important, because none of that furniture is going to stay. So my recommendation to your sellers, to my sellers, is completely furnished to the nines, looking like like $1 million, or completely vacant. And then lastly, this was the nail in the coffin, and this one makes total sense, and I do not disagree, and it's even more important here in Florida, is the condition and age of the roof. This home still looked like it had the original roof on it. And just from my experience, standing outside, looking up at the roof, you could start to see the undulations and the curling of the shingles, which was definitely a tip-off that that roof was still original. And now, being almost 20 years old, high teens, 18, 19 years old, that roof is certainly towards the end of its useful life, especially here in Florida, where the sun bakes on the roofs all the time, and those asphalt shingles really have more of a 15-year lifespan. Now, it may still be in good shape, there may be no leaking, but the most important factor is not only its age from the perspective of the buyer, but its age from the perspective of insurance, because that is a big talking point here in Florida and a very important thing you need to think about when looking to buy a home. Insurance costs are sometimes absolutely through the roof, and I'll give you a perfect example. In my own home, I recently replaced the roof. Our roof was about 17 years old. It was in good condition, really did not leak, but it was at an age where the insurance now did not want to insure my home or cover my home. And the one provider that we could find in the interim before we finally decided to replace the roof was charging us, it was $11,000 for our policy. Now that is extremely expensive. Our home is about 2,100 square feet, and that is very expensive for that size home. Now, what we ended up doing is replacing it for a metal roof, which is now, hopefully is a roof I'll never have to touch again. But to give you a perfect example, that insurance policy went down to $4,500. So a significant difference. And not only do we now have a much lower premium, but you have the ability to choose from different insurance carriers. And so back to the example of this home that I showed, if they can't get insurance on the house at all because no one will cover it, no one's going to be able to buy it, at least no one that has to get a mortgage for that house, because the lender, as most of you know, require you to have insurance on your home. And so you absolutely have to pay for it if you can get it. If no insurance carrier will cover that because of the age of the roof, you either can't purchase that home or you'll have to negotiate, and this is sometimes something that we do, is negotiate with the seller to have that roof repaired prior to closing so that you can get it insured. And now, of course, you have a brand new roof. So what we focused with my client on in this particular property and why he decided to pass on it was its condition, the fact that the house wasn't prepared for the market, and those big ticket items like the roof. Now, if you have any questions about purchasing a home in this area, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at Influencer Real Estate. We're happy to provide our 20 years of experience to make your dreams of owning a home here in beautiful South Florida a reality.